Hello, family. How are you all tonight? This is Heart Talks with Renee and Glenn.
What's going on?
Tonight, what's going on? How you doing tonight, Glenn?
Come on now. I ain't
Always
complaining.
great. Listen, I
Always
can tell y'all how Glenn feels. He's grateful. Ha, there you go.
grateful.
I won that one. Glenn is grateful. I am grateful. We are grateful to be here with you tonight. Thank you for joining us and tuning in like you do every week. Thank you for coming in and wanting to participate and listen as Glenn and I share words from the heart. Tonight's topic is about grace. Y'all, we're about to go back in. We hope they're not going to put us back in the house, but for now, the reality is we're all going back into the workplace, into schools. We're going back into the office building. Many of us have been working from home virtually. Schools are about to have a bigger capacity of children. And what we're trying to, and tonight's topic is going to talk about extending and receiving and having grace for yourself, but also extending it to others. Just understanding and knowing that, guess what? We've all been through a pandemic. We've all been through a pandemic. We've all had to quarantine. We've all been through something, whether we enjoyed it, whether the quarantine, some of us did, but many of us didn't. Whether we are nervous about going back into the classrooms and going back into the office buildings and going back into the work, we're talking about going back in gracefully, making sure that we make others feel welcome and that we give ourselves grace to feel different about going in, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Being inclusive in our practices and ensuring that everyone feels a welcoming spirit to one another, but also giving ourselves time to get reacclimated. So thank you again for joining us tonight. Our Dr. Glenn, Mr. Glenn Thomas, I just like to say, I like the way it sounds, is coming to us tonight to impart upon us his wisdom on, what it means to be graceful in the workplace. So thank you again for joining us. And here we are, Glenn.
Yeah.
Grace.
Yeah, definitely. Just wanted to thank everybody for spending time with us, for sharing space with us tonight.
Yes.
We have storms here where we're located, so hopefully we won't break out too badly.
Mm-hmm.
We are in the same place, Renee and I, actually in the same city.
Right.
So hopefully we'll be able to get through this broadcast today. But yeah, I think, kids going back to school. My kids went to school, and your kiddo is going back soon, and
right.
And the workplace is opening up. People are, welcoming folks back, and we had an opportunity to have a conversation with an organization last week. I was able to speak to them, welcoming them back into their workplace, and look, one of the areas that I touched on was grace, and I thought it would be definitely meaningful and poignant to talk about that today as people begin to get back in the workplace, whether it's virtual still or not, like just getting back integrated into work after these past 15 months, and how powerful grace is. How we may have historically not have thought about grace being a tool that we could use to really inspire and empower our teams, when in all actuality, I would tell you, I would argue with anyone right now that grace is probably going to be the best tool you have as a leader, as you welcome people back into the workplace and into schools and for children.
I agree. And part of that is being vulnerable and how too we feel. That's to me, I think that the first thing you need to do is wake up and give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Understanding that, there, as a leader, there has to be some form of anxiousness or making sure that everything runs smoothly, that, people come back and they feel welcome. It is a very big responsibility as a leader to not just open back up those places, also to extend and make sure that, listen, we didn't just go through a pandemic. We also went through a very difficult time with social injustice and, all of the media coverage of all of the social injustice, George Floyd and everything, and all of that took place in the midst of a pandemic. We lost a lot of family members. We lost coworkers. We lost people. And so it's not just about being home and in quarantine. While we were there, we were forced to face life. And, just making sure that as we open those doors, we first of all walk in being great, giving ourselves grace walking through the door, but then also extending it to the people around you. But I think you first have to, would you agree, Glenn, when I say, like, you would first have to be able to give yourself grace?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Chief King Hank's on here on the mic. He just said, I agree, grace and patience, right? Grace and patience.
Yeah.
And we talked about that earlier, that impatience will take you left. But yeah, I think grace starts with self always. I think, I was talking to you about, I was referring back to the book Plan B Sucks. And I was, talking about, basically grace says, this is what it says for self. Grace says, I forgive myself. I love myself. I honor myself. And look, in order for us to show up with all the outcomes we have to achieve as leaders, all the performance goals we have to, achieve, all the stresses of leadership and performance, in order for us to be able to give grace, extend grace to others in those high pressure moments as leaders, you have to ask yourself, do you give yourself grace? Because you can best believe if you're not if you're not giving yourself grace, loving yourself, forgiving yourself, honoring yourself, you're gonna be hard pressed to do it with anybody else. Hard pressed. Understand me?
Oh my gosh, you wake up in the morning, mercy, yes, Mr. King, yes, Henry, and mercy, right? And I think that also goes back to the expectations, the realistic expectations. Glenn and I talk all the time. Yes, Jamila, and thanks. Yeah. And so, I think that we always Glenn and I talk about the expectations that we hold for people. And, but sometimes I think that we have to realize that maybe sometimes the expectations that we hold for ourselves, I'm not going to say they're unrealistic, because we always want to say, you know what, I have high expectations. But what about, instead of saying I have high expectations, I'm stay more focused on my mindset? When I walk in, what is my mindset going in, rather than expecting myself to be great, expecting myself, instead, my mindset being positive of enough growth for not just myself, but for others. And I think that when we have a mindset of patience, and a graceful mindset, I think that the mercy comes in and the patience comes in, and we start to look at people as being human, being capable of making mistakes, understanding that everything won't be clear when you first get back in, and that people need to still get reacclimated to the environment, and they need to get time to adapt to a new beginning, because no matter what, things will not be the same. And I don't know if that's a bad thing.
Well, listen, I think undoubtedly, people can say, hey, it's easy to say give grace when we have, we have milestones we have to hit. We've had 15 months of just craziness, things, the unknown, work-life balance has been non-existent. People have been trying to stay alive, including, and look, and in that mix, businesses have been trying to stay open. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I will say this: all of us, team members, those who are we're following and we're leading, we have to give each other grace. Grace is not a one-way street. So we have to think about, listen, my boss or my supervisor or my organization, they aren't being kind right now, or they're not doing the things I think they should be doing. And that may be true. But we must also extend grace when it's someone else that is in a place of oppression. I'm gonna use that word because I want you to understand it's a heavy word.
Oppression.
Brother David Standel-Raz says we can't extend gratitude when we oppress.
Oh yeah, well, we're living in scarcity.
We're living in scarcity. So if we can't extend gratitude, we can't extend grace, right? So we may be in a relationship that's going back and forth with an employer that's feeling oppressive. And we get in our feelings, and I get it, and I understand it, but grace extends both ways. It is a reciprocal relationship, meaning even if someone's not extending, you must extend. You must try to extend grace in order to stay close enough, have proximity enough to really understand or figure out what's really happening. Because as individuals, we hurt, we hurt, we feel. But organizations are made up of people as well.
Absolutely. Human beings.
Organizations are made up of human beings as well. We work with many of those organizations where those leaders we talk to, we consult with, they are hurting. And we say all the time, hurt people tend to hurt people.
Right.
Okay. And so this conversation is not about us against them against us. This is about going back again to the teachings of Brother David Standel-Raz. This is about we belong together. And I want to say it again. We belong together. Friend and foe, we belong together. Family and otherwise, we belong together. And because we belong together, we must extend each other grace, even in the midst of anger or distrust or feelings of abandonment. We must extend grace because grace is the only way, it's the only entry point to understanding.
Oh, that's good.
Grace says, not only do I forgive myself, but I forgive you. Grace says, not only do I love myself, but I love you. Grace says, not only do I honor myself, I honor you. And I'm going to do those things through resilient love. And resilient love says, I'm going to show up and stay close to you, get proximate to you, so I can fully understand what's happening.
Glenn, you went out.
Is not about what you want. I'm back. Am I back?
Okay. Yep, you're back.
Listen, I got to shout out real quick. God allowed me to live the job.
God allowed me to live the job.
So I wouldn't get locked up.
I was wondering if you saw that. I was wondering if you saw that. She said, so I wouldn't get locked up.
He said, go. And when he said go, you gotta go. You gotta go.
I love it.
Listen,
I love it.
Listen,
I'm going to tell you.
God said, go.
But it's only, I'm going to be honest. Listen, I ain't even going to go there. So let me just say this. You said a word today. I listened to the video that you sent me, and I heard you say the word interdependent.
Yeah.
And I heard you say the word interdependent. And immediately when I heard you say we need each other and we live and we work in an interdependent, I'm even thinking about marriages. I'm thinking about children and families. We live and work. We need each other. We need we need to be interdependent of one another.
Yeah.
But I also thought to myself at that time, and you and I have talked about this before, we were just talking about being in proximity to people so that you could have a clear understanding of what is really happening, what's the underlying issue. And Glenn, I thought about this, and I think that when we go back, that grace is the question when we face a challenging moment with a person, with a human being, not what is wrong with you, but what happened to you. And I think that when you ask the question, what happened to you, it makes you work and deal, live, and exist among people with a more graceful heart. Because now you're asking and saying, I care about you enough to find out, where did this all go wrong? What happened? What happened to you? Glenn? Glenn?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you went out. Okay. I think you're coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, we got storms. So you can hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. You're good now. Yep.
So yeah, I think it's the realization of, and understanding that live.
Okay, I don't know if everybody can.
Last
Glenn?
15 months where
Okay.
again. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, it's bad out here.
For people who are watching, I just want you to, I don't know if you heard Glenn say earlier on, but we are about to have, or if he probably has already, always starts in the north end of the county. But Glenn is probably experiencing lots of storms. So kind of try to stick with us and be patient. I see he's coming back now. But I don't know, this is the worst it's ever been. We've not had this many issues, so this is probably going to be a bad one. I don't know.
No, it's all good. Can you hear me now?
Are you back? You're good? Yep. Gotcha. Yeah, Nikki, we talk about that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it behooves us to understand that, we are going to have to step into these coming months differently. And the reality of it is we should have been stepping into leadership this way all along.
Right.
But these tough lessons, these experiences that people have lived over the last 15 months, these lived experiences have to be given opportunity and space to be uncovered. There are a lot of folks that probably need to go to therapy to talk to someone that they probably won't. And we're not trying to make leaders therapists, but we must understand that there are a lot of folks stepping back into the workplace, a lot of children stepping back into schools that are going to need grace for a myriad of reasons, if not just because we're asking the question, what the hell just happened in the last 15 years? Just a simple question.
I mean,
what just happened?
I just read a person on Facebook said that her daughter never cries on the first day of school. She said that all of those poor babies were crying on the first day of school. You've got children who have been home with their parents for 15 months, and now they're expected to detach from that comfortability of that security of, I'm home, I've been in a secure place. You've got people who have been alone for 15 months, who have lived alone for 15 months, who have not gone out in public because of the coronavirus, because of the pandemic. And now they're going back into a social climate. And yeah, I agree with you. I think that we need to not be afraid and be so quick to shun the idea of therapy.
Yeah, and look, I'm gonna tell you something. Listen, the cheat sheet right now, the cheat sheet for every leader that supervises that supervises people. This is the cheat sheet. Very simple. I hope just you don't even need a piece of paper for this one.
Hold on.
Look, cheat sheet.
I take my notes.
101. Welcoming back your team. This is the one thing that you must focus on. Grace.
Mm-hmm.
Grace.
I wrote it.
Simple. Ask
Grace.
questions. Ask questions. Don't assume.
Mm-hmm.
Ask questions. Don't assume. Don't assume anything.
Yes, and please be a thermostat.
Listen, don't assume that COVID did not affect them. Don't assume that their marriage is A-okay. Don't assume that their children made it through well. Don't assume that financial difficulties did not hit them. Don't assume that their friends and family were not impacted. Don't assume that everything is okay just because they showed up, smiled, and went to work.
Amen.
Don't assume.
Don't assume. And
questions.
Yes. And don't
Ask
assume
questions.
just because they're smiling that they are happy. You know, they might be one smile away from flipping and going off on everybody. I mean, they may be one smile away from just losing it. And, you know, we talk about all the time, Glenn, being a thermostat. Like you when we walk into a room as a leader, there is no time that is more pressing than now. When we're talking about grace and going back into the office, that you must remain cool, that you have to maintain a thermostat temperature that is warm or cool for everybody, that when people walk in, that you have an inquisitive heart, that you are curious, that you are vulnerable, that you are honest and courageous in your idea of what leadership is. This is a very, 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 very important time. It could make or break your teams. This is the time when you have to show up. Right now, this is the time where you have to show up and where you have to develop. This is also a pivotal time where you can create a culture of grace. If you extend grace now, this speaks volumes to your team about the values of your company, about the values of who you are as a person, encouraging your leadership team to be strong and to, you know, kind of plummet through, but also being graceful with your leadership team. Just because they're expected to be strong doesn't mean they are right now. You know, just making sure that everybody's okay, but that includes making sure you're okay. Because you can't give it if you don't have it. Right.
Yeah, listen, the word of the day, I think, listen, as a leader showing up, not having it all together. Look, the worst thing we can do as leaders, the worst thing that we do as leaders is we show up as if we have it all together all the time. Look, it's not strength that we're showing, folks. Like it's this whole concept that the leader shows up A-okay all the time, has it all together, no blemishes, no marks, no falls, no failures. Listen,
vulnerable.
We're doing ourselves a disservice when we show up like we're perfect. Listen, we always come into the room with clients and we say, listen, today doesn't need to be about indiscriminate sharing. That's not what we're looking for. We're not looking for indiscriminate sharing. Today should be about authenticity, though. Authenticity. And look, as a leader, your story
Yes,
may
Jamila.
yeah. Yeah.
Yes, Jamila.
So same for the therapist. So listen,
Right.
your story as a leader may be kind of shiny, actually. You might just had a good time and it was like all good, right? You really don't have a woe is me story or nothing really bad may have happened. That's okay. You don't have to make up anything. What we must do, though, is understand that even in the mix, there has to be a level of empathy that can exhibit for others who may not feel safe enough to be vulnerable enough to be their authentic selves. Okay, so in that instance, when we talk about the cheat sheet, the cheat code for leaders should be right now grace. Ask questions, don't assume, right? And you don't have to be perfect. You just need to have an ounce of empathy to know that if there's 10 people in the room, seven of those folks got something heavy on their heart. Not 3, not 4, not 5, 7. Okay?
You don't have to be perfect. I need you to say that again.
Yeah. You first off, nobody is perfect. You don't have to be perfect.
Nobody is perfect.
You can't
Right.
be perfect.
Nope.
This season that we're stepping into is really an opportunity. It's listen, if you are an a-hole leader and you know who you are, if you're an a-hole leader, let's keep it real now. Let's talk truth. Now we gonna hurt feelings alert. Hurt feelings alert.
Listen, y'all. We're speaking from experience. Listen, we're not pointing any fingers. Just listen.
No, I've been an a-hole leader. Look,
we are speaking from experience.
If you are that person where you got things done, but you know people they're not feeling you like that, like they're not following you like that, but you still got things done, and you want to shift that dynamic, you want to actually inspire people more, you want to encourage and empower people more, this is your opportunity right now. It's a new season.
Amen.
It's a new season.
Amen.
We're coming out of a time where people have reflected, they've had time to think, they've had time to suffer and cry and sit still and be present in their suffering. We're coming into a season where people are not even people, young people, midlife, older people, we all are coming into this new season saying we deserve more.
Yeah.
We deserve more. Yeah. And if you're a leader, you have that opportunity now. And all you have to do, you don't have to go to a leadership course and training. You don't have to sign up for one of our trainings. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to read a book. You don't have to do anything but do the one thing. Start with grace. You can literally start anew in this season if you start with grace. Because grace says something to your team, even if they didn't like you before, but it says something to them. It says, one, he cares, she cares. Okay, maybe it's not real, but I'm gonna go with it. They seem like they care now. They're more patient now. It seems like they're honoring the lived experience now. And as that happens, as people come on board to your grace, what will happen is they will become more vulnerable, more open. They will feel safer. They will feel included. And when that happens, now they not only will show up as their authentic selves, now their level of performance will skyrocket.
Then you get the innovative, creative, powerful.
There is a relationship between grace and performance excellence.
Can I share?
Go ahead.
May I share for a minute? I want to share something. I have never had a job where I have been given grace until I had this job. It was so when I first started, I don't know if you all know this story at all, but I was a bit of a perfectionist, and I think Glenn is the first person who has ever called me out on the perfectionism. And I'm going to be completely accountable for that, for that person, regardless of what my past experiences have been. That is just who I was. So it doesn't matter really why. It is who I was. And then Glenn started putting me, I don't know if he did this on purpose, but he started putting me, oh, hush, Nikki. He started putting me, hush, Nikki, in uncomfortable places. He started putting me in uncomfortable places, requiring me to write, but also giving me the grace to let my writing not be so good, but then also holding me accountable for working up to my potential. So I don't know if you know what that looks like, as leaders, but let me say this. Let me back up just 1 minute and say it again. He gave me grace to be imperfect in the process, because I've learned over the last year and a half that there is no such thing as perfection, because perfection means that you're unflawed. Well, no one is unflawed except for Jesus Christ. And so I can't put myself on that pedestal anymore. But what I can do is I can work up to my greatest potential. Let me say this. When you give people grace, you get their gifts.
Yeah, there you go.
Glenn Thomas has said this a million times. Gifts are not meant to be kept. They're meant to be given away. And let me just say this again. When you give people grace, you get their gifts. When you hire people, that's what you want. So if you put this bubble around them, holding them tight within a spot or a space where you think they should be perfect, or where you chill them out when they are not less than what you expect them to be, then you lose the one thing that you hired them for, which is their gifts, their passions, and their skills. You want their gifts, you give them grace. And that's how I have developed over time. And so I just wanted to share that, because this was a monster that was created. And so it doesn't just end there, because I do go back sometimes, but definitely, I can see growth within myself in how I perform, because I've been given and gifted grace. So that's what I wanted to say about that.
That's real. I mean, that's
real talk.
Yeah. I mean, look, we hire people who are skilled and competent, and then we jump on their backs
Mm-hmm.
and act as if they don't know their jobs, right? Look, grace isn't something new. That it's like this new remedy or elixir that's going to help us become the best leaders possible. No, grace is of all. Grace is in the Bible. Like grace is old. Like grace,
right?
She ain't new. Grace is old.
Nope.
We haven't been using grace in the right places,
right?
Right. And so because of that, it feels new. It feels like odd and extraordinary for some reason that grace would translate into performance excellence. I mean, let's switch it around. I mean, think about it in very simple terms. Think about it when, say, a child is growing up, learning how to walk, falling down, stumbling. You don't tell the child, if you fall down one more time, stay down, don't ever try and walk again. You don't push the child down. You don't knock the child up, got sensitive head. You don't punish the child for trying to do something that they're naturally supposed to be doing anyway. Like, no, you encourage them. You encourage the child. You're patient with the child. You give the child grace, because you know that the child is a walker. The child just hasn't started walking yet.
A, and then B, you also put your hand out.
You also
and you give them a hand. When they hit the ground, first thing you do is you reach your hand to help them up.
So if we think about it in the terms of how we treat children, babies, toddlers, if you think about an adult who you hire, who you interview, you hired them, they had the skills, they had the education, they had something about them made you say yes. Something about them made you say yes. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, because they don't work fast enough, they don't move like you want them to move, they don't do it how you want them to do it, we get impatient. And now we're coming out of a time period, a pandemic, a space in which is unique that we may not ever see again. And the question is not should you give folks grace? The question is, why wouldn't you give folks grace?
Why?
Like, why wouldn't you? And so
you invested.
I'm challenging leaders. I'm challenging us all to what does your grace strategy look like? What does your grace strategy look like? You know, you was like, oh, got a welcome back, got an onboarding strategy. We have a welcome back strategy. We have a get to work strategy. We have all these strategies. I'm asking you, if you don't have a grace strategy at the front of your notebook, the top of your laptop on the note section, grace strategy, right? With like not 10 things, just 3 little things, probably 3 things. If you don't have that strategy in front of you every single day, I'm going to say something, and you're not going to want to hear this. But if you don't have that strategy, you don't have that grace strategy, you just missed an opportunity. You just missed an opportunity to inspire. You just missed an opportunity for folks to show up and feeling safe. You just missed an opportunity to create a culture where people want to be there. You just missed an opportunity of creating a culture of excellence. Excellence only exists when people feel safe enough, they feel inspired and empowered enough to show up like their authentic selves. Because when they show up as their authentic selves, when they're able to come as they are, the same people you hire, when they're able to show up as they are, they go the extra mile. You don't have to ask them. When they don't know something, they ask a question. When they fall short, they do a little bit more. When something's not right, they lean in. See, excellence is not by mandate. Excellence is by inspiration. It's by empowerment. It's by a way in which we are not obligated, but we feel as though we are operating in an interdependent environment.
That's right.
That's where excellence happens. Nothing more, nothing less. The question is, what's your grace strategy?
What's your grace strategy?
That's the question.
What's your grace strategy? Y'all, we can't give up on people.
Nope.
That's it. We can't give up on people. Glenn Thomas taught me this, that when people fail, it is my responsibility as a leader. And so when they fail, I failed.
100%.
And so it is my responsibility as a leader to ensure that the people around me, the people who are impacted by me, the people who have been gifted to me to inspire, that I do just that, that is my service to them. You can't give up on people. We've got to have grace, patience, and the words of Jamila, mercy.
Yeah. Come on now.
Whew, listen, y'all. It's almost on and popping. If they don't put us back in the house, we're going back into the workplace. We're going back into the schools, and y'all better be good to my babies. I had to say that, Glenn. I'm sorry. Be good to my babies. Do you hear me? Be good to my babies and principals. Be good to your teachers. I have to say it. It's all going down. When you're good to your teachers are good to your babies. So
you better believe it.
Listen.
Oh man, it's good and raining now.
It's good and raining. All right, so that's my cue.
Yeah.
Because that means our internet's about to give out. Thank you so much for joining in with us tonight. I have to say I'm super excited that we are now on LinkedIn and that we are tuning in on YouTube. So guys, if you can't get us on Facebook, you know where to find us. Glenn?
Definitely. Thanks so much, everybody. Check us out on all social media platforms. Down in it. Check us out. Check us out on our website. We have so many resources for you, our videos, our books, our ebooks, the whole nine. Look, we're here for you. We want to build community with you. So we're so excited for you. Thanks to everybody that jumped in today. Nikki, Jamila, Greg,
thank you, guys. Eric,
always,
Eric
Chief King,
Henry,
Kiera, Tracy, Reverend Tracy, everybody that jumped in. Listen, we appreciate your love. We love you, and there's simply nothing you can do or say about it. We're going to always love you. And so we appreciate you. We're going to continue to be here every Tuesday. We started a little late tonight, 6:30 on all the platforms. We'll be streaming starting next week on, I think, 8 platforms. So we're blessed. We're blessed.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you so much, everybody. We love you so much. Thank you. Not just for your support, but for your active learning. Love you.
Definitely. Be safe. Take care of yourself and everybody around you. All right.
Okay. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.